Tonight, we begin with something a little grittier. The grimy, gaslit world of Victorian London. A city of grand ambition, industrial marvels, and soul-crushing poverty. This wasn't the London of Sherlock Holmes or Queen Victoria's palace garden parties. This was the London of fog, filth, and foul smells. A place where surviving the day was a small miracle. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up in a single room shared with 6 other people, a rat for a roommate, and a bucket in the corner that served as toilet, bath, and water source? To step outside into a yellow-grey fog so thick you couldn't see your own hand, a fog that coated your lungs and turned your clothes black with soot? To eat a crust of bread that could double as a roof tile, or drink water that might kill you. This was the daily reality for millions of Victorians. And yet, somehow, they endured. Tonight, we'll walk those cobblestone streets, breathe that poisonous air, and discover what it really took to survive one day in Victorian London. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into history's darkest corners, take a moment to subscribe to Little Historical. And let me know in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, perhaps a blanket, and let us begin. The room falls silent behind you. The street waits. And the first breath of smog hits your lungs like a cold, wet rag. You stumble out the front door, still blinking sleep from your eyes and clutching half a crust of bread, and immediately walk face first into a wall of choking fog. But this isn't the romantic, candlelit haze they write about in novels. No, this is London's infamous *P superstar. And it's like trying to breathe through a cold, stuffed sock. The sky is grey, the street is grey, the air is grey. You can't see the end of your own arm. And you're pretty sure that's a lamppost ahead, or possibly a horse. Could go either way. This fog isn't just weather. It's murderous. Formed by the happy marriage of industrial coal smoke and natural mist, it clings to everything. It seeps into your lungs, coats your throat, and gives your clothes that signature London look, soot-streaked and mildly flammable. You cough. Everyone coughs. It's part of the local soundtrack, like church bells and clattering hooves. Children hack like lifelong smokers. Old men cough so hard they rattle windows. And doctors. They recommend moving to the countryside, which is great advice if you own land and your own lungs. The smell is a complex bouquet: chimney soot, sewage vapor, horse manure, and last night's overcooked cabbage. If perfume makers bottled this, it would be called *Eau de Urban Misery Star. And it gets into everything. Your hair, your bread, your one nice shirt you wear to funerals and job interviews. It's all stained with the scent of progress. The worst part? No one's surprised. People go about their day blindly, literally. Street lamps burn all day long and still don't help. You hear someone trip in the alley next to you, and someone else swear as their umbrella disappears into the mist like a ghost ship. At night, it gets even thicker. The fog curls through door cracks, blankets the tenements, and if you don't keep a candle lit, you might walk straight into the fireplace, or worse, your neighbor's lap. There is a strange intimacy in this blindness. In the fog, faces become rumors. A hand that brushes yours on the street could be a thief, a lover, or a ghost. You never know. The anonymity is both a shield and a threat. Women pull their shawls tighter. Men walk with their heads down. In the swirling grey, anyone could be watching. And in 1888, someone was. But for now, you just want to reach the market before your bread gets soggy. You pull your collar up, take a shallow breath, and step off the curb. The fog swallows you whole. And somewhere ahead, hidden in the murk, the real monster of Victorian London is just beginning its day, the streets themselves. You open your eyes, and the first thing you see is your brother's foot, inches from your face, grimy and twitching slightly from some horrifying dream. Welcome to your one and only room. It's not a bedroom. It's not a living room. It's the room. And it's everything. You share it with 6 other souls. 1 bed, 2 chairs with questionable structural integrity, and a rat who's been around so long you're considering charging him rent. There's no wallpaper, just patches of wall where something used to be. The ceiling leaks when it rains, and even when it doesn't, it drips something that you've decided not to investigate. The fireplace is fake. The air is damp. The floor creaks like it's trying to warn you of your own mortality. You're wrapped in a thin wool blanket that hasn't been washed since the Crimean War. And the pillow under your head is made of straw, possibly mixed with someone's long-forgotten sock. There's no plumbing. That bucket in the corner, that's the toilet, bath, and emergency water source, depending on the time of day and level of desperation. You've learned to breathe through your mouth in the mornings. It helps a bit. There's one window, if you can call it that, so covered in soot and fog that it mostly just lets in the sound of cartwheels, shouting vendors, and someone aggressively coughing 3 doors down. You try not to think about the fact that the window opens onto an alley where the butcher dumps his offcuts and your neighbor keeps his goat. Every morning begins with a family-wide shuffle. You dress under blankets to avoid the cold. You swap spots around the wash basin like it's a game of musical chairs with fewer prizes. And someone always knocks over the chamber pot. And yet, somehow, this room is still home. You know which floorboard creaks, which corner drips, and which window pane rattles just before your neighbor yells about his stolen boots. You know the smell, the dust, the strange sense of belonging. But make no mistake, this room isn't comfortable. It isn't cute. It's a place that prepares you for the day outside by making you suffer a little before you even leave. And trust me, the streets won't be kinder. There is a dark intimacy in this shared misery, a whisper exchanged in the dark, a hand that brushes yours as you both reach for the last crust of bread. In the cramped silence before dawn, bodies press together not from desire, but from necessity. Yet sometimes, in that press, something warmer stirs. A glance that lingers. A touch that means more than warmth. But the daylight erases such things. The bucket needs emptying. The children are crying. And outside, the fog is already curling under the door, eager to claim another day. You pull your coat tighter, step over a sleeping sibling, and head for the stairs. The room falls silent behind you. The street waits. And the first breath of smog hits your lungs like a cold, wet rag. The fog swallows you whole. And somewhere ahead, hidden in the murk, the real monster of Victorian London is just beginning its day, the streets themselves. Welcome to the streets of Victorian London. A sprawling, chaotic organism pulsing with smoke, mud, and misery. Every step you take is a calculated risk. And the street doesn't care if you're late for work or just trying to cross the road without being trampled to death. First things first, there are no sidewalks. Or if there are, they're so narrow, cracked, and crowded that using them is a polite suggestion, not a safety guarantee. The main road is a mucky battlefield of hoofbits, wagon wheels, and ankle-deep sludge. Horse-drawn carts barrel past at terrifying speeds. Carriages clip corners. One false move, and you're face down in a puddle that smells like something died in it, because something probably did. Now mind the gutters. They run down the middle of the street, carrying all the city's discarded glory, rotting vegetables, dead rats, coal ash, the contents of chamber pots dumped from upstairs windows, and the occasional shoe, foot optional. Crossing them without slipping requires Olympic-level balance or a very long stick and no dignity. But it's not just the terrain that's out to get you. It's the people, too. You've got street urchins darting around like caffeinated squirrels, pickpockets brushing against your coat accidentally, and vendors yelling about eels, kippers, or something vaguely called meat. Everyone's yelling all the time about everything. There are also the coppers, trying to look important while ignoring most of what's happening around them. If someone gets stabbed, they'll eventually wander over, assuming the shift hasn't ended, or they haven't been bribed to look the other way. The air, still thick with smog, is now flavored with horse manure and pipe smoke. And in the distance, you hear the bells of St. Paul's. Or maybe that's just your ears ringing after someone shouted in your face about chimney soot. Oh, and if it rains, which it does, often, the streets turn into rivers of filth. No one offers an umbrella. No one even looks surprised. You just pull your coat tighter and trudge through it, hoping your boots don't dissolve. And this is just your commute. Survive the streets, and you might live to find a job, or at least something that pays enough to keep bread on the table and rats off your toes. There is a dangerous thrill in this chaos, a brush of a stranger's hand that could be a theft or an invitation. Women learn to walk with purpose, eyes down, but aware of every shadow. A man's gaze lingering too long could mean trouble. A woman alone after dark is a story that often ends badly. But you're not alone. The crowd presses in, anonymous and threatening. You keep moving. The market is close now. And beyond the market, the factory gates. The real grind is about to begin. The crowd presses in, anonymous and threatening. You keep moving. The market is close now. And beyond the market, the factory gates. The real grind is about to begin. If you're a man, you might be lucky enough to land work in a factory. 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, for wages that wouldn't feed a well-behaved cat. The noise is deafening. The air is full of soot, metal shavings, and regret. If you lose a finger in the machine, don't worry. There are 20 children lined up behind you, ready to take your spot. Don't fancy machinery. Try bricklaying, or hauling coal, or working in the docks, where your back gives out by 30 and your teeth fall out by 40, if you live that long. Women. You're scrubbing floors, washing other people's laundry until your hands dissolve, sewing buttons until you forget what daylight looks like, all for pennies. And when those options run out, there's always the street. No sick leave, no safety, and no sympathy. Maybe you're a chimney sweep, or a mudlark digging through the Thames at low tide, looking for scraps of rope, nails, or bones to sell. The smell is free. The dysentery, also included. Or perhaps you've landed in a workhouse, that magical institution where the destitute are helped by being worked to the bone in exchange for food so bland it feels like a punishment. You're not here to thrive. You're here to not die too loudly. Jobs come and go. Illness doesn't. Injury means starvation. There's no workers' comp, no health insurance, and no HR department. Just a foreman yelling at you to lift faster, breathe quieter, and stop bleeding on the equipment. And heaven forbid you complain. There's always someone more desperate behind you, willing to work for even less. Competition is fierce, and compassion is scarce. And then there's disease. It's everywhere, lurking in the water, the walls, the air, and quite possibly in the meat pie you ate for lunch. Tuberculosis, or consumption, slowly consumes your lungs. Cholera arrives through your drinking water like a cruel surprise. Typhoid, scarlet fever, diphtheria, all regular visitors. Medicine means laudanum, opium, or a barber surgeon with a rusty saw. Hospitals are overcrowded, poorly ventilated, and surgeons don't wash their hands. Yet, somehow, people endure. They form unions, raise families, organize strikes, write novels, play music on street corners, and cling to hope like it's the last piece of bread in the pantry. They laugh. Yes, even in the fog. They find love in crowded slums, sing lullabies over screaming children, and dance in pubs after 16-hour shifts. You probably wouldn't last a day. And that's not an insult, it's a reminder. The people who did. They carried the weight of an empire on their backs, often barefoot, often hungry, and almost always ignored. They built the world we now complain about in heated rooms with clean drinking water. So maybe it's okay that we wouldn't make it. But let's at least remember them. Not as soot-covered statistics, but as people who survived the impossible every single day. And as the factory whistle blows and the fog begins to lift, you realize that tomorrow will be the same. Another dawn. Another struggle. Another small victory. And that, perhaps, is the only kind of immortality Victorian London ever offered.